Hey everyone, happy Sunday. We're here for our Soultry Sister Hangout. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Toni. And
And
we're
we're the Soultry Sisters. That was so in sync, y'all. Before we get started, we're just going to share with you our promo video. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, my name is Alyssa.
And I'm Toni.
And we are the Soultry Sisters. We're a community-based organization that empowers women to live healthy and creative lives in North County, San Diego, and recently DC.
We curate events, workshops, mixers, and meetups centered around women's arts, wellness, and sisterhood.
Our mission is to empower women to live vibrant and shine bright through creative expression and conscious holistic living.
Our vision is to create a safe space that provides women the arts and wellness resources that are affordable and accessible.
So far, we've partnered with Dancing Soul Boutique, Village Rock Shop, Carlsbad Village Yoga Co-op, and nonprofit organization Leap to Success. To find out more information about us and to sign up for our future events, visit SoultrySisters.com.
You can also find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Soultry Sisters.
We hope to see you soon. Yes, so that was our little ad. We got to promote ourselves. For more information, you can visit us at SoultrySisters.com or follow us on social media at Soultry Sisters. Yes. Okay, y'all.
Yes, so we're excited to be doing part 2 of our Reclaiming Pleasure series. So for all of August, we're talking about all things pleasure, what that means for me and Alyssa. And then we're also getting feedback from all of you in our community. So last week we talked about, what pleasure means to us and all of that. So if you missed that, you can catch the replay on our IGTV. So go to our Instagram at Soultry Sisters. You see the tag below, and you can watch the replay there. And then today we're super excited to talk about how we're celebrating pleasure this upcoming week with our wonderful guest. And so we're really, really excited to have her coming on with us and sharing space. And we thought it would just be a great addition to talk about, how pleasure is showing up in our lives during this time, because we talked about pleasure last year around this time, and then a year later to kind of check in and be like, okay, what does that mean to us now? And then we'll take a break next week, and then the end of the month, then we'll do another live on, kind of going over what World Pleasure Day was for us this year, and then kind of pleasure activism and what that means. So there's still more things to stay tuned for this month.
Yes, definitely. If you've been rocking with us from the beginning, we like to celebrate things with the seasons. So I personally am really excited to revisit our conversation around pleasure and also introduce y'all to a beautiful woman by the name of Ianne. We're going to have her speaking with us today. So I'm just really excited to introduce y'all to her. But before we start, we always like to welcome y'all. Let us know where you are tuning in from and what you are sipping on. Let us know in the chat. Again, our Soultry Hangouts, it's where we get to have conversations. We're super casual. So we really want to be able to be in conversation with y'all. So let us know where you're tuning in from and what you're sipping on. I'll start first because I'm really excited about this. I'm sipping on some June Shine. And the flavor I'm sipping on is hibiscus lime. I think I was sipping on this last week too, and I'm still sipping on it. It's only me in this house, so I sip slow.
Yes, so I'm tuning in from Washington, D.C., and I'm sipping on the same thing I was sipping on last week too. So this Lover Boy hard tea or something. I guess it tastes kind of like those White Claw things or Trulies. It's fine. It's just what I had at home. So
you didn't want to spice it up with some of your fruit, Toni, your infused fruit?
No.
Not today.
No, not today. But yes, and then what I did to spice it up is I'm wearing my vulva earrings from
Ooh.
So to celebrate all things pleasure, I was like, why not the vulva? And then
I'm all about those vibes.
Hi.
All right. What do you say we go ahead and bring in Ianne into the conversation?
Yes.
All right. Hey, girl.
Hey, so happy to be here.
Yes, welcome, welcome. As you know, we've gotten started with our conversation by letting our Soultry fam know where we're tuning in from and what we're sipping on.
Okay, right on. So I'm tuning in from my casa in San Diego, specifically in the city of Lemon Grove. And I'm sipping on some water with lime because hydration is the name of the game over the next couple of days. Hydration,
Nice.
hydration.
Yes, all about the hydration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're really excited to have you here with us, Ianne. And we just really thought it'd be awesome to have you share a little bit about yourself. So yeah, if you want to, do a short introduction for our community of a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into also how we all are connected.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm SoCal girl, born and raised between Orange County. Yeah, that's right. What's up? From Santa Ana in Orange County, and grew up between there and San Diego. So both of these areas have been my home and like really informed a large part of who I am. And yeah, my parents immigrated here from Mexico, so I'm Mexican. I identify as Chicana because I am Mexican American, and have had that whole experience of parents wanting to assimilate, and now I'm in the place where I'm learning how to embrace my Mexican culture in my own way as I explore my spirituality and myself. And yeah, went to UCLA, got a degree in biochemistry. I'm a science nerd. I love to learn about how the body works. Have always been inquisitive in that realm, and went to UCLA. Got my degree there, and then went up to the Bay Area, did a little bit of work there, got to travel for work, and then everything kind of shifted for me in 2012. So 2012 was the year that I started to really awaken to spiritual life in a way that I wasn't connected to before, where it was, instead of like intellectualizing it or have it being placed on me through growing up Catholic, it was starting to become an exploration of self through this understanding that I'm a spiritual person, I'm a spiritual being. And that really kind of opened up the floodgates and washed me down this path that I'm at now. And in 2015, I went back to school after not having been to school in like 10 years, mind you. So I was like going with a purpose. I was really called to explore spirituality and psychology and the mind body connection, and really kind of give a direction to all of these things I had been learning as a yoga teacher and Reiki practitioner, and kind of bring it all together in a way that was authentically my purpose here. And that brought me to sexuality and pleasure and the sacredness of that. And I opened up my business, One Thread, in 2018, and started off holistic pleasure coaching, doing groups and one-on-one coaching, and have really started to shift that to find this new avenue of healing modality that I call sonic rituals. And it's these musical compositions and meditations, and integrating that into embodiment practices with now into World Pleasure Day. And it's really blossoming open just in the last year. And that's actually kind of sort of how we met. So I was introduced to Alyssa and Toni via, I think it was the Heal Up with B podcast. Or actually,
Yes.
I was familiar with her work before. But then when I heard that podcast episode that y'all did with her, I was like, okay. These are my people.
We love Brenda. Shout out to her with B. We love Brenda. She's such a beautiful connector. So I really appreciate her for that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fantastic. I actually just got to meet her for the first time maybe 2 months ago, and we had only been Instagram friends, and then finally we're able to meet. Yeah.
Yeah, same, right, Alyssa? Have you met Brenda in person? I haven't met Brenda.
No, I finally met Ianne in person, like recently at the high tea event in Oceanside. So I have yet to meet Brenda in person, but I want to.
Yeah. So I think that's so interesting about, the time now is that like a lot of us are connecting online, which is amazing. But yeah, it's like to realize like, wait, I haven't actually met this person in person.
Yeah.
That's happened to me here in DC as well, where like it wasn't until the summertime that I've met some people that I've connected with online who I felt like I've known for years. Like with you, Ianne, I feel like we've known you and have been in community with you for a while. So we technically haven't, just it's been 1 year now.
Yes.
Awesome. So this is beautiful, like a friend community versary for all of us.
Right. I think it's affirming, like the connections that we've been able to sustain. Is affirming that with intention, you can make those connections, whether you've met this person a year ago or in person. Intentional connections always resonate, whether it's in person or online. I feel like for me, that's been an affirmation through meeting you, Ianne, like in person. I was like, oh my gosh, it's even better. And so to almost know, like, when you know.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And just the idea of like really like the definition of community, like supporting one another's work and supporting each other to shine. I think that's really been exemplified this year with some of these really intentional connections that have been made.
Yeah. And Ianne, I really love like when we met you, when you shared your background too, like having that like science, but also, like yoga, Reiki and all of that too. And I feel like that's similar to Alyssa and I too. And especially my path where like I do public health and then I also am passionate about like holistic wellness with Soultry sisters and like to merge that. So I found that really resonated with me, like a part of your background. And then also that you do the sonic rituals. It was at World Pleasure Day last year that I experienced it for the first time there. So that was awesome. So if you all haven't experienced Ianne's work before, or if you're just interested to learn more about what she does, follow her information down below. So you can follow her at Coaching. And then she has her World Pleasure Day website this year with everything that she's doing this upcoming week.
Yeah, I also want to touch on like the fact that we all have technical backgrounds, even for me as a technical like dancer and connecting holistically to movement and what it means to move in my body and honor my body. I think that's also a part of reclaiming pleasure. I feel like we've all have these different intersections of how we've reclaimed our pleasure within the fields that we are in and within the spaces we are creating. And I think that is something to celebrate. That was deep. That got deep.
It did. I took that. I'm like, take that deep dive with you.
That's something that I'm celebrating. What I'm celebrating right now with you on this live is the fact that we all have different backgrounds that we're bringing to the conversation of pleasure. And that is what it's about. Like when we're reclaiming our pleasure, it's not taking away or dismissing the things that we've experienced before, but it's honoring how we've come to this point and where we want to go. It's the whole thing. It's the wholeness of ourselves. And that includes our past. So let's get deeper into it. So now that we've talked about how we've connected, we've all been like dancing around the conversation of World Pleasure Day. And so I want to ask you, like, how did this vision come to you? And like, tell us a little bit of like why you feel like how you came to create this vision and execute it last year.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit of a story.
We got time.
Okay. It's a little bit of, I'm not going to try to go too long on it, but it applies. So, so in 2019, actually, let me go even further back. So if you look at my tattoos, you see there's 818s. These like the top part. So 818 is my favorite number, and it's been my favorite number for quite some time. That sequence of numbers, and to me, that's a sign. Whenever I see that randomly in places, it's the synchronistic conversations I'm having with the universe that it's telling me you're in flow, you're right on time, or just like messages that I need, like reminders that I'm connected. Like 818 has always been that number for me. And so every August 18th for, I don't know, maybe almost a decade, I've been doing something on August 18th, whether it's, usually I take the day off work if I have to work. That is my holiday. Totally. I do something to honor my connection to the universe. Maybe it's doing something new. Maybe it's taking myself on a date. Sometimes I've had parties and gatherings. In 2019, I was up in the Bay Area and I was having an amazing trip. I went to go to my ex-boyfriend's wedding, and there was just so much love. And I had a moment during that trip a couple days before August 18th where I had this really beautiful and profound moment of self-pleasure and self-touch. And I felt like I was like almost leading my own self on this internal journey, and I just kept exploring, and it almost looked like I was going down this path in like an open field, and I was experiencing these like heightened sensations of connection and joy and calm, and it was just so inspiring. I had never had something like that before, and it really started. That's when my transition about reclaiming pleasure for myself really started to shift in a really powerful way, really embodied way. And World Pleasure Day came, and I celebrated up in the Bay Area, and I was like, yo, I would love to share more of this in community with people. Like, this day is so like, I feel so good about this day. This is the day that I like, I'm in my body the most. I'm celebrating, I'm eating good food. I'm like slowing down. I'm enjoying my life as it is here now today. And I don't know how I'm a Capricorn, so I go big or go home, and I'm like not trying to go home, I guess. And I was like, let's have a global paradigm shift. Why not? So so the intention is to open the mind, celebrate the body, and elevate the spirit of pleasure, because pleasure is far too long has been in the shadows, and it does not deserve to be there. It is essential to who we are and to our healing. And on my most favorite day of the year, I wanted to share how I appreciate pleasure, the principles of pleasure that are attuned to myself and my community. I want to share that globally. So that's how World Pleasure Day was born.
I love that. Like, I love how World Pleasure Day was born out of abundance.
Yeah.
I love that, because anything born out of a place of abundance is always giving, and it's like a great energy to have. And I felt that too. I love that. 818. My best friend's area code is 818.
Hey.
So many more meanings.
And I love, Ianne, how you shared how World Pleasure Day came from such a personal place. Like, 818 is your favorite number. So then on this specific day, you celebrate, yourself and your energy and all of this. And so I feel like that has translated, and why World Pleasure Day has been as, like energetic and positive as it has been, and impactful, because it is genuinely from like a really personal place for you. And I think that's awesome for everyone to know too, because maybe they have seen you promoting World Pleasure Day, and they're just like, oh, that sounds really cool. But I think this is awesome to kind of hear a little bit more of the backstory of like why you wanted to create it. And I had such an amazing time last year at World Pleasure Day, and it was really fun, and I felt like you had a really great like variety and diversity of like people that you had invited to contribute and to share. And I'm excited for this year too, because I think you also have a great variety of people from like the spectrum of pleasure and like what that looks like. So I think that's exciting too, because for me, I think sometimes if people say pleasure, like if we're like, oh, we're celebrating pleasure, people think of usually like one aspect of pleasure and not like this expansive thing. So I think your World Pleasure Day is really more expansive and more of a like transformative day of pleasure. So I think that's important to share with our community too.
I agree.
And I think it's a great way to segue into like asking you, Ianne, asking ourselves what pleasure means to us. Like, at the root of ourselves, what does pleasure mean?
Yeah. So I have an acronym that I use when I talk about pleasure, and it stands for the presence, loving energy of awareness, softly unveiling and revealing everything. So
Ooh. You gotta slow down for that one.
Can we do it one more time?
Okay, one more time for the people in the back.
Yes.
Okay. So pleasure is the present moment's loving energy of awareness, softly unveiling and revealing everything.
Love that.
Yeah.
The awareness and then like the unveiling everything. Your definition is so beautiful.
I love loving energy of awareness.
Yeah.
The loving energy of awareness. I feel like for me, being a person that is very anxious, I would like to love the energy of awareness. When I become aware of something, to welcome it with pleasure versus, what is this new thing? There's a new thing.
Honestly, I totally feel you, because I am learning how to befriend the anxiousness, and at least, not fight it, but to learn how to let my body be a channel for it to live in, to flow in, but also to hold space for not just that. That's one of the things we talk about this year, the full spectrum of pleasure, that you don't have to just be in one thing. You can hold space for compassion during those times where you feel really anxious or angry or frustrated or unclear or whatever. We are a full spectrum being, and we can hold space for all of it. And the body is a channel for that, when we can start to learn how to create kind of this aligned mind, heart, body channel. I 1,000% understand where you're coming from, because I get real anxious.
Yes, I'm with the thought of pleasure. I'm going to keep that with me, is the loving energy of awareness.
Yeah.
Because it's like I in my head, it's just almost to flip the perspective. Like, oh, I love how I can become so aware of the switch in my mood. I love how I'm so aware of when something affects me.
Yeah.
Versus like everything affects me. Good, So I think part of me, when I think about what does pleasure mean to me, when I think about just reflecting on our conversation right now, is for me, pleasure means it being in a place of acceptance and receiving, to be able to receive, and no judgment of what you're receiving, but to be able to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, pleasure is like, I guess at this year, in this chapter, in this moment that I'm in, is like really honoring myself. And like through honoring myself, I found pleasure in whatever that is. So whether honoring myself with rest, or honoring myself with, like finding joys and like the little things in every day of just like watering my plants or like getting some sunlight. Things. And then it could even be, this season in my life is actually really pleasure focused. So even what most normal people would think of like sexual pleasure, that is a high priority in my life right now. And so I have felt like it's just, for me, has been a very pleasurable like chapter, or this transition that I'm in. Then I have been embracing that, and like whatever that looks like to me. And I have been more like open with like what pleasure can look like in all aspects of my life, but even like in sexual pleasure, like what does that look like, and kind of being more open to that as well.
Yes, that's so beautiful.
Yes, and as you see, like we love here at Soultry to celebrate all definitions of pleasure. We're all about like giving space for everyone to share what pleasure means to them. So if you're watching the replay, be sure to let us know in the chat what pleasure means to you.
Yes. And again, with our Reclaiming Pleasure series is for all of August. So if you're watching the replay, if you're joining with us now, you can always keep contributing throughout this month. So if you think of something later on, you can comment on the replay, you can chat with us on Instagram. Either way, we would love to continue the conversation as well.
So I want to segue into getting into the nitty gritty. I'm a little nosy, and I want to know, Ianne, like, what is a part of your soul care routine? What does soul care mean to you? How do you have this tranquil voice? You have this air about you, and me being the nosy sultry sister that I am, like, first, like, what is your top soul care? What is the top things that are a part of your soul care routine right now?
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I lean on sometimes, you know. I think we forget that we can create these rituals that can become not just tools, but really things like when we're having that rough day and we don't know how to process shit. When we remember that we have this thing that we said is good for and to us, that we can rely on it. That is the self-trust aspect of pleasure, right? That's why prioritizing pleasure in your life is also developing self-trust. So yeah, soul care is about connecting to my needs through what my body is requiring. So when I need to rest, I really let myself rest. Sometimes what I'm doing now also is, while I'm resting, is actively telling myself it is okay to be here and I don't have to stress that I'm lying down right now.
Yes.
You know, because there's one thing to like be sedentary and supine, but then there's another thing to be like actually resting in your mind too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Alyssa and I have had a conversation about that recently.
Yes, we definitely have.
Yeah, so that's one. Another thing that I really enjoy doing is, a couple weeks ago, maybe months now, I had to get a box out from my old apartment. My roommate was leaving our place, and the box I didn't realize what was in there, and it was this bunch of books and records and an old tea set that was my grandmother's, that I had received upon her passing right when I moved to that apartment in 2015. And I had left it there, and when I received it, and they were so beautiful. It was this china. It was these beautiful teacups and really delicate and beautiful handles, really ornate. And I remember when I got it, I was like, why would I keep this in the garage, in the storage? And I was sad for a moment, and then I thought to myself, because it's her in my ancestry and her energy that I need right now, and like honoring that, finding that thing that was kind of, you know, this can be a metaphor, this thing that was there, but like was stuck in the back, that came and emerged right when I needed it. I think is then I began to integrate that into a ritual where I have this tea that my good friend Miranda, she has a brand called Mariposa. Shout out Mariposa. She makes herbal blends. She has a journal all about herbalism, and she has this beautiful ease tea. And there's rose, there's lavender, chamomile, and so it's very special. You know, it's like loose leaf, so it's beautiful. I take it, I steep it really slowly in my little teacup, and I just drink it really slowly. And usually I like to put my robe on, and like I have this really like this perfume that I got from my travels like way back when, and I only use it sparingly, and I use it on these days like nobody ain't gonna see me, nobody gonna smell me, you know what I'm saying, but it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I create moments of beauty in my life when I forget that it's there always. That's what soul care is to me.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. Yes, I love that you mentioned doing all that stuff and just for you, even if no one's going to see you, no one's going to smell you, and how I feel about you.
Yeah, I love also that part of, you know, when you were sharing your soul care is the connection to our ancestors. And part of soul care is creating space to have those connections. And sometimes our ancestors will interject and be like, I'm here in the best way, like, you know, in the way of like you finding something. And it was meant for you to find it at that time and that moment. So I love that, because I feel definitely like I have an altar at home, and that's part of my soul care too. So I love the fact that I just love the fact that we and Toni love tea.
Yeah.
We're tea girls, so.
When we used to have in-person events, we used to always have some type of tea. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you should check out Mariposa. Her blends are delightful. She makes also like womb healing blends.
Ooh.
She made one for me specifically. I believe though she might have it up on her site, but it's what do you call it, for vaginal steaming?
Okay.
Okay.
She uses marigold in that one. That one's so beautiful.
Ooh,
That
yeah.
color. Yeah.
But she makes personal ones too.
I'm sure if you asked her, she'd be available for it. I know she's done it for a couple people. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but
You're
like,
like, I don't know.
she told me she does have like blends that she sells.
Yeah, I
specifically,
love it.
but
Yeah.
she's full of heart and she's so open. Just reach out to her and connect.
Yeah, we love learning about other healers, and we love, like, Toni took a herbalism class last year, so yes, so we love all things herbalism.
Yeah, so we'll definitely check her out and all of her goodies that she offers. Something that came up for me when we're talking about pleasure, for me, I feel like practicing pleasure for me is a way to like cope through things sometimes, especially in this last year plus. I feel like because I felt so heavy and like the world felt really heavy, like really prioritizing pleasure in my routine was how I coped with like what was going through my life. And whether that was, you know, like I said, like doing soul care routine that makes me feel pleasure and joy, or like even like self pleasure, like masturbation to like just like release so I can like release some anxiety and then be able to like show up in whatever commitments I had, or you know, just whatever that was for me. But I wanted to hear from like you all, like, has that been an experience for you all with pleasure of like helping to get through some tougher times or like cope through things?
So this is me. Oh, I thought you were asking like put a comment. I was like, who that's directed to? Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, pleasure is really an embodied journey for me, and gosh, I feel like I'm almost like at a loss for words because right now I'm in a really deep place of shedding, and I have been for the last probably 9 months or so, and I've had to really lean into the principles that pleasure really is. I can feel good, even in the muckiness, even when I don't want to give myself that. There's still a light that I can feel, that is always here, that I can connect to in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, pleasure, you know, whether it's being intimate with my partner or, you know, having some time in the shower by myself in a number of different ways. You know, driving in my car or whatever it is, like pleasure, really orienting my body around the experience, or orienting myself around the experience of my body, engaging with my internal and external world has been absolutely crucial to making it through this like crazy shedding that I've been going through. And I feel like I'm sort of turning a corner. And what's been really exemplified for me is that when you orient your life towards the idea that you can feel good, that you don't have to always feel suppressed, oppressed by yourself and your external environment, that is really a radical form of self-love.
Yes.
It is. I've started to learn how to mother and nurture myself. And, you know, tell myself like, girl, you are doing so good, you know, and that is a form of pleasure as well. When it comes from your heart, the practice of pleasure is a heart opening practice. It really, really is.
Oh, I love that. For me, I feel like I'm shedding too. I'm like, I'm like, I have a loss for words. I'm like, yes. For me, when it comes to practicing pleasure, it's what I was saying last week in our live is like part of me reclaiming pleasure is setting boundaries. So me house sitting and coming here every weekend to center myself with whatever I want to do has been very pleasurable. And for me, like what has been giving me pleasure is the boundary of being alone, like knowing I get to cross this threshold, and for 2 days I'm here and I can do whatever I want, undistracted. I've done those things. I've been in the showers, I've been in the tubs, I've been in the couch, I've been on the board. I've just been loving myself, but also being with myself. And so for me, that wasn't a part of my pleasure practice. Boundaries wasn't. I didn't have that last year, so it's a new process for me to give myself the space where I'm able to be with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very simple, but it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
I for a long time I didn't know how to give myself space, like give myself space. That because like no one can create that for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you say I'm good, everyone's like, all right, you good, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the process of creating space for myself, and that includes and that's the practice of pleasure for me. They're intersecting like right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what what I hear from like all of us sharing is that like we all deserve pleasure. And I feel like especially as like Black and Brown communities and our ancestors, and even currently now, I feel like a lot of us, even if I speak for myself, it's like we feel like, oh, like pleasure or rest or soul care is like a luxury that like, oh, when I get all my things done, right, then I can get pleasure on the weekend of like, oh, let me treat myself to this, right? And I feel like for me in this last year has been unlearning that and reprogramming and remembering that like we all deserve pleasure. And then at the core, whatever that looks like. And then also that, also what you all said, like just pleasure looks like different things, also in different phases and stages and seasons in our life too. I feel like that helps me give like myself compassion and grace that like, okay, it doesn't have to look this one way. So,
Yeah.
So I feel like that might be a way for like Ianne, if you want to talk about like the different types of pleasure, like co-creators that will be sharing on World Pleasure Day, and like why like this year is like so exciting. If you want to share more about like a little bit details.
Okay, yeah. So this year we celebrate pleasure as light, and light stands for a number of things. So I think we're only in our second year, we're a little baby holiday. But what I am really kind of like thinking about when I think about World Pleasure Day as it continues to grow and take on its own life is that I always want it to reflect what we're going through as a consciousness. And this year, coming out of 2020 and the kind of really pulling away of the curtain on not just the systems that are fucked up. May I curse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think many of us have already been familiar with how fucked up a lot of these systems are. But I think what became really apparent for people that wasn't otherwise was how that translated itself in our own personal individual lives, how those same structures have been really internalized. And that is an awakening of sorts. And I wanted World Pleasure Day to reflect that. And awareness to me is light. And we entered into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of light. We did that, I think, earlier in the year or something, at the end of 2020, something like that. And yeah, I wanted World Pleasure Day to reflect where we are, what we're growing into. Light also stands for celebrating pleasure as a liberation, insight, guidance, healing technology. Pleasure is this liberation technology, just as with the examples that we're talking about. It's a channel for our own freedom, exploration of freedom, and what that means for us today. And then tomorrow it might be a little different. It may mean something else in another couple years, but we have the autonomy to explore. So I wanted to explore this theme in a number of different ways. So we have Dr. Rose, who's coming in, and she's a pelvic floor physical therapist, but she's also does pleasure coaching. She and I had a really interesting conversation. It was one thing, and then it turned into something else because I broke down right before. She gave me a little mini coaching session. She's like, "Are you all right, girl?" And I was like, "No." and so we ended up talking about how we are able to be all things, how we can hold space for it all. We talk about shame and meta shame, which is like shame about our shame, and then we feeling shame about the shame that we feel about the shame. So we talk about how it's possible to hold space for all of those things and what that can do in support of your growth and evolution. And we have a range of body practices, from soul care to guided meditations. There's breath work. We have a woman coming in talking about, her name is Kalpana. She's talking about ecosomatics. So this is another way that we're focusing on liberation technology. So ecosomatics is the study of the body, the individual consciousness, how it connects to the body and consciousness of our environment and our ecology. So the study that we are all interconnected and that we are not separate, and that we can observe and connect to nature to learn about ourselves. And if we look at a flower, if we really, really look at a flower, we look at the stamen and the pistils, the veins on the leaves, and all the beauty and intricacy. There's so many things that we look at that and we can see within ourselves. We're not separate from that. This sacred geometry, this divine intelligence. And then one of the other ways that we're exploring liberation technology is talking about sex tech and censorship. Specifically what's happening with social media. It's really crazy when I bring it up to people who aren't totally aware of how bad it is. Maybe they're tangentially aware, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of shadow banning, things like that.
Right.
But what's not, I think, really understood is the extent of it. Menstruation profiles on Instagram are being shut down or shadow banned. The differences between a full-figured, full-bodied woman who is wearing a bikini gets shut down when someone who is her smaller, in a smaller body, that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't demand, right? So there's all of these implicit and explicit biases that exist in technology and are keeping us from information that we may not be able to access anywhere else. We're not seeing ourselves in the technology that we use every single day for maybe multiple hours a day.
Yeah.
And so we have a fund from this social media app called Lips, specifically curated for LGBTQIA plus folks who are there to just express themselves, whether it's through their high art or what do they call it? Thirst trap pictures, whatever you want to do. You can express yourself there. And she's leading the ethical and responsible technology. That's really what we're going for in that realm. And so we're approaching this theme of light in a number of different ways, so that way you can learn and embody.
Oh, I love that, learning and embody, and it just sounds like a playground of information, exploration. I'm excited. I love how you curate these every year. This is every year. This is the second year, but I'm excited for this year's lineup. And I wanted to talk a little bit about you and your sonic rituals and how you've bridged art, wellness, and pleasure together. I kind of wanted to circle back. I know we're talking about World Pleasure Day, but I think it'll be great for our community to understand more about how you created sonic rituals and how that intersects arts, wellness, and pleasure.
Oh yeah. So sonic rituals were born in 2020. I started my podcast, Pleasure Revolution, January 23rd, 1, 2, 3. I'm a numbers person.
Yes.
apparently. Um, and yeah, I mean, I was editing, I was doing all that on GarageBand, and I had a meditation that I wanted to put out on Valentine's Day. I had it recorded, but I didn't want to use the music that was there. I was like, this doesn't feel right. I was like, okay, well, let me try GarageBand. I don't know how to do anything with like music. I've never done it before, so let me try it. Why not? Lo and behold, it becomes this like additional tool that I didn't even know I had at my disposal. And I didn't know that it would be such a healing thing for myself as well on a personal level. So sonic rituals, it's kind of this blend of frequency and intention, and I'm inspired by, I love hip hop, I love classical music, I love like weird experimental stuff, nature sounds, like all of that is my jam, and I just kind of like put it in a sonic ritual where it applies. And they're really ultimately embodiment practices. They're meant to take you on a journey. So you listen to the sounds, and the sounds are intended to draw you into a feeling. So for me, when I'm composing sonic rituals, I have to put myself in the place of the practitioner. How do I create safety? How do I create the space for the person to start to settle into where they are, to find comfort enough to explore? And how do I then draw them out into like a culminating experience where they can be activated sensually in their bodies? So it's been such a joy to have this gift from the divine, because I honestly don't know where else it came from. And this was my quarantine baby. I have a series of rituals called All of Me, and they're rituals for self-pleasure and self-discovery. And the first series, I have 2 volumes. The first volume I did right when the pandemic started, and my goal was to have it be done early April. I was like, I'm giving myself a month and I'm going to do it, because I think also because Capricorn, that's how I cope with stress. I was like, I need a goal or else I'm going to spiral. And it was this beautiful healing gift that I was able to get deep into my body because I had to, because it's an evolution of, finding, it's coming home to yourself. There's mirror work, there's dance, there's a bunch of different experiences that I had to embody for that project to happen. So it's truly a gift in my life, and I just really look forward to sharing it with more and more people as things are starting to expand and open up.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I'm honestly like, World Pleasure Day was the birth of Soulscape for us. It was our first time. So we know about births in 2020. We know about that divine timing and everything like that. So yeah, Toni and I, we had the idea of Soulscape, but we didn't have the opportunity until you reached out to us to put it into practice. And since then it's been one of those things that give to us as much as we give to it. So we totally like align with you on your sonic rituals, as well as like all that you offer in abundance in World Pleasure Day. And so yeah, just gratitude to you for creating the space for us to present Soulscape.
Oh no, it's my pleasure entirely. Oh my gosh, such a gift, such a gift. And I've already been able to look at obviously all the content, and I practiced your Soulscape for this year. I cried.
Yeah, every time I do it, it's a different response.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I can't wait to practice it on World Pleasure Day.
Yes. We're really excited to share it with you and your community, because yeah, Soulscape for us is really special. So I guess Alyssa and I will describe Soulscape for people tuning in if you don't already know. But Soulscape is our embodied movement practice in our Soultry community. And so what we usually do is we mix like meditation, mindfulness, and movement. And it's a way for us to use like affirmations to have like if someone is better at healing through like hearing, affirmations, but then we also have guided movement in there. So Alyssa and I will share like different movements. That's an invitation. That was important for us. Like you said, Ianne, it's like create a space that's safe, right? For people to tap into this part of themselves. And that's how we feel. It's like we're just creating the space. And then of course, each person is going through whatever they want to bring to the practice, or whatever they want to take away from the practice. And each time we do it is really different. And Ianne, what you're talking about, like embodied practice, Alyssa and I, we weren't necessarily thinking like, oh, we're creating an embodied movement practice to like uproot like these things and create healing. It was more of like a natural place. How you share, Ianne, a lot of your work comes from just like how you're healing in your own. Alyssa and I too were like, we just really wanted movement, especially last year, 2020, like being like stagnant a lot inside. We're like, we were doing a lot of movement practices. So then we were like, okay, that's the offering we want, is like to get people to move and be able to like take, change that stagnant energy into like a positive energy, and to flow with that as well. I don't know if Alyssa, you want to add anything else?
Yeah, we thought it was important for Soulscape and to be a practice where you don't need a mirror, and you don't need to watch us or anyone. We invite, folks to, if they're following along, to look at it as a guide or a mirror, or just watch with pleasure too. But our goal was to get out of looking at others and get into tuning inward, listening to self, and like the other word that comes to mind, we talked earlier, like trust. Building that trust within ourselves. Like, I know what I need in this moment, and we're just guides in this moment. And so, and everything that we created in our Soulscape guides are what we're needing in that moment. So the script that we create, the mantras that Toni shares, are things that we're working on. So it does reflect us in our journey. So every time we create one, it's like a culmination of like where we are, what we're working on. So it's kind of cool because it's kind of like a movement diary.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I just thought it was interesting because the scripts that Toni and I, we collaborate on it. So Toni creates the mantras, I create the movement script, and somehow they match, even though we just go into our own zone of like, this is what I need, and this is what she needs, and then it matches together. So we really want to, we use the whole formula of embodying and tending to oneself and then sharing in abundance versus extracting, if that makes any sense.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's amazing. Yeah, those affirmations, they hit.
Yes,
That's so lovely to hear. And I feel like also with Soulscape, because Alyssa and I are trained dancers and performers, and we wanted to also move away from like the typical like dance or movement class, which we do also in our Soultry community, but we wanted another space that was a little bit more on like healing and really just like showing up as you are and like just going with whatever your body, your energy, your spirit wants you to go. So if that's just like laying down the whole time, that's fine. Or if that's just like reciting the mantras, or if that is like, being full out with your whole body practice and like sweating, you can do that too. So we also like that it's open, compared to some of our other like cardio rhythms and things that we do that is a little bit more structured. So this is a lot more of like just really embodying yourself and where you are in this moment.
Yeah, and I really think that Soulscape is the movement reflects mindset and getting away from, when people say like, I want to move like this, or I want to move like that. To me, what's important in what Soulscape can provide is a place to help create the mindset, the liberation, being in a state of liberated mindset to where you can embody what you want to feel. And the mirror of you looking good is because you feel good. It's not about like creating a shape. It's like moving the energy around or cultivating the energy that then reflects the light that people see when one performs. Like, so if you see any of us performing, my opinion of what we see is like the light that someone is shining. Okay, there's lines, there's legs, there's kicks and execution. But what gravitates me towards someone's movement is more so their light. So I think that to me, Soulscape is created to help one do that versus just being like, you're learning a dance. It's like, no, you're learning to embody and find, when we talk about finding your light, embodying your light and becoming that light for others to see as well.
Yeah, and like one thing I'll add before we start wrapping up and letting Ianne share a little bit more, but also with our Soulscape, like this year, what we're sharing, like our theme is cultivating creativity, and I think that's like so in alignment with like Ianne, your theme for this year, which is light. Because like for us, like cultivating creativity, that's not only helping you find like creative, whatever like the typical definition is, but I feel like also being creative in liberation and like, the different ways that we can, find our own autonomy and all this stuff from oppression and all of these other things that we're experiencing, but to find that through creativity and also find a creative way to experience pleasure, I guess, is kind of like our theme for this year. So we're excited for you all to experience that on World Pleasure Day. So check out her website below. Yeah, we're excited.
I do have one more question for Ianne, and it's our question that we ask all of our guests. And so as Soultry sisters, our motto is live vibrant and shine bright. We'd like to know, what does live vibrant and shine bright mean to you? I know. It's a lot.
Live vibrant, shine bright.
You can separate them. You can answer the whole thing, whatever you want.
Yeah. I think it's navigating yourself towards a sense of inner peace. I hate to it's almost like I feel like that doesn't even do it. There is, when you start to like really befriend yourself, when you really start to like comfort yourself the way you would comfort one another, the way that you support and love on yourself, like this real just deep nurturing that it's this profound relationship that you start to develop with yourself. I feel like is where shining vibrantly stems from, when you don't have to depend on externalities to tell you who you are and to give you your own light, to understand that it's always in you and you feel it. You let yourself feel it on a frequent basis. That you don't feel like you need to dim yourself for anyone else or any place that you're in, because that ain't for them. That ain't for them. If you got to do it, that ain't for them. You and your people that are going to reflect that back to you and mirror it back to you and be in support of you, like I'm exploring that right now myself. And like I said earlier, it's a deep reevaluation of what really brings me joy and peace and calm and presence and love and appreciation and gratitude and all of that. When I draw myself into that mindset and that state of being, I feel like I shine. I feel like I don't have to dim. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I love that. I love how like your definition of live vibrant, shine bright was centered around like being in relation with self and being unapologetic about nurturing that relationship with self and letting that shine. I heard that resonate with me so much. Goals.
Oh yeah. Totally.
It's just so beautiful. I just love how you really describe like your perspective and how you are with these different terms and stuff that we've been sharing this whole live. Like I wish we had more time because there's just so much we could talk about, but I'm so happy that you were able to share with us because it's been so much for me. So I'm sure everyone tuning in also is getting a lot from everything that we all are sharing today, and we'll continue to get from everything that you offer, Ianne. So that's so beautiful. So thank you again.
Yes, the conversation does not have to stop, y'all. World Pleasure Day, 8/18, y'all.
Hey,
If you enjoyed this conversation, definitely come out. World Pleasure Day, 8/18 this week. Sign up and let's continue this conversation of reclaiming our pleasure, nurturing our relationships with ourselves, and then abundantly pouring out with our communities, because that's what I got out of this conversation. Maybe y'all want to share your tea, but that's what I got.
Yeah, I also want to open up if anyone tuning in has any questions or wants to share anything with us, please do comment it below, and then we can, share with you all. If you're watching the replay, do comment below any questions or comments that you had from everything that we've all shared, especially what Ianne has shared today. So I did want to open up space.
Yes, we did have Perry. He commented, "Meta shame is so real." He felt that too.
Right.
I'll be mad about my emotions. I'll be having emotions about my emotions.
Yeah. But see, I would invite Perry, if you are, you identify with this meta shame, right? I invite you to come to World Pleasure Day on August 18th to then, have some practices under your belt.
Yes.
Some of that.
Let's all process together. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
But yeah, it's been a great conversation. Ianne, is there anything else you wanted to share about either what we've been talking about, our conversation on pleasure in general, or about World Pleasure Day? Feel free to share with us.
I think the other biggest thing that I'd like to say for World Pleasure Day is when you experience it, honor and support all our contributors, present company included. Sign up for their email lists, connect with them one-on-one, reach out to them, shout them out, really support them. This is about community, and I want their light to shine in each one of us. There's also a monetary energetic exchange. All this content is free. Everyone has contributed so honestly from and freely of themselves. So please support your creators. All of the contributors and creators are beautiful human beings, and show them some love. Hey, Larry just signed up.
Yes, just signed up, y'all. That's one of our balanced brothers. He just signed up. Love it.
Oh my God.
That's Larry.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, and everyone who's tuning in, share with your friends, share with your friends' friends, post it on social media, whatever. It's just going to be such a great day of celebration. And that's what we really wanted to have Ianne to share with us today. It's just like, the spirit of celebration, whether that's small, whether that's big, that we're celebrating. And especially this week, we're celebrating through pleasure. So that's really exciting as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Many gratitudes to you, to everyone joining us. Again, if you're catching the replay, definitely comment below. If you are wondering how to sign up, we have it down here below. But also, if you go to our Instagram, it's one of our latest posts. If you go to our website, we have it on there too. So if you like, where is it? We have some places for you to find it. Don't forget to sign up. If you still are looking for it, you can always DM us. We want to make sure y'all don't miss World Pleasure Day number 2, y'all. Don't miss out. We love y'all, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.